Hola amigos, and welcome to my class. I wanted to share an activity that I did today with my level 4 students. And this is something that I am incorporating in all my classes, just small talk at the beginning of the class. And I know lots of teachers do this, and I've been doing this for a few years. However, this year I am having kids actually write down as we talk, as we are creating conversation, they are writing down new words that they're learning, because a lot of times I'll use new words and I'll introduce those words to kids, and they'll, maybe they'll figure it out incidentally, but then later they're like, what was that word? So I'm like, you know what, we're just going to have a page. We're going to call this our glossary page, our conversational page, and then I write the words on the board. So today, for example, I was talking to students about, we have a new system in our school and none of the kids like it. It started a survey online about how they hate the new schedule. So anyway, we talked about that a little bit. They had a lot to say. And also I was asking them just a few questions about how they felt this morning. And so from that conversation, we had a few words emerge. Not all of the words are on the board. So first we have a propósito. I asked them something and I was like, oh, a propósito, did I pass this back? And so they wrote that down because they didn't know that word. We have sabor. We had a student who shared about a Pop-Tart that he had, and he was saying how he really liked the flavor, and and he said flavor, and that's when I was like, no, it's sabor. And then we wrote that down. Tampoco, very useful word when students were sharing their or airing their grievances about the new system that's in our school. One student echoed what another student said, and she was like, oh, I don't like it. And I was like, oh, you can just add either to that. And then ojalá, and it doesn't have an accent. I will put an accent on ojalá. Talked about that a little bit. Its origin from Árabe, so it was really nice. It had a few words. And then the same concept for Spanish 1. Now that was for Spanish 4. So a lot of the students, they already have language that they're working with. For Spanish 1, it was a little bit more complicated, but we actually got pretty far. So we started off writing a date this morning, and not like an activity like, oh, write the date in Spanish. I just had them write it out because they were going to do, it was, part of their heading. But then afterwards, I was like, let's just talk about days of the week. So we talked about the days of the week, and then I shared with them how the days of the week are related to, planets, and except for Domingo. And we talked about that. So as I wrote the days of the week on the board, I asked them which planet or which celestial body do you think this is related to? And one kid made a connection. He was like, oh, Monday is actually Moon Day. And I was like, oh yes, oh my gosh, didn't realize that. So that was really nice. And then I asked them about their favorite day of the week, okay? And we talked about that a little bit, just for them to use mi día favorito de la semana. We actually have semana here. So lots of conversation today, just in these first 10 minutes of class. Honestly, I cannot believe it. But what I'm most proud about is I told them about my weekend, and I said to them that I said, oh, me gusta, mi día favorito es sábado, porque me despierto tarde. And then I showed them, me despertando, and they were like, oh, to wake up. And then we talked about tarde. I taught them also me acuesto tarde también, and how Saturday is just es el día perfecto. So it was nice. They were understanding, they were engaged. I had them just write down a few of the words and expressions. And at some point I am gonna kind of just maybe on a weekly basis, I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking maybe on a weekly basis, maybe grab someone's notebook and just kind of review, because these words are very important too. It's I feel that language is just all around us. And although I love reading, I love doing very input rich activities, but I just feel you can get language from everywhere, and every little bit counts. So these are just 2 activities that are super simple, having a conversation, and just as you're talking, if there is an important word that you want to highlight, just write it on the board. And I know people feel different about students having to write things down. But in my case, if my students, what I've noticed, if I don't give them a task, if they don't have something in their hand, they're going to be doing something else. So it went really well today.